Samsung, proud sponsor of Tech Busters.
Well, we've got an Alcatel OneTouch Idle Mini to review, and Aki, if you work it out that the screen is the front part,
yes,
that's what you show to the camera. So that you
have
can
I got it right
see.
this
There
time?
we go.
Hello, big brother.
We've worked effectively. So now Aki and I get to play with a lot of gadgets, and what's interesting to both of us is how often the no-name manufacturers or the manufacturers you haven't really heard of give us things to play with, and it's really hard not to be impressed. I mean, Alcatel really is nowhere in terms of global market share, but this is not a bad product either. The build quality is not bad. The usability is fine, good clear screen. I quite like the way that the buttons are kind of recessed around the back on this tablet. You can have a SIM card and a micro SD card. So very, good quality tablet. And it's, 7 inches, fits in the hand quite easily. And runs Android, obviously. So it works quite effectively. And not bad at all. How have you found the smartphone?
Look, I think I've been watching this company for the last year, and as you quite correctly say, they're making a premium feel product at a really, really good value price. You look at the price at what these costs and what you'd pay in a normal market. You're getting all the features in a smartphone, a great build quality as you mentioned, and I think that they really are very, very good value for money. So these are the two Alcatel ones. They've obviously got other bigger ones as well. They've got a smartphone as well that's a bigger size than this one. But the design is so good. I actually mistook this phone. It was sitting on the studio desk. If I switch this off, okay, it actually looks a bit like an iPhone, So it looks very, very similar to the iPhone, but great quality phones and very, very good value for money. And you wonder to yourself, I wonder what kind of damage these are doing to the premium brands, the Samsungs of the world, the Sonys of the world, the HTCs. When you're looking at what you're paying for these devices and you see, okay, the quality is not as good as these devices, let's be honest. But I think you're buying a Toyota there's an Audi, and
exactly. I mean, it's a strange kind of disruption being done to Samsung, for instance, who disrupted some of the predecessors a lot more. Like HP got out of the laser printing market because Samsung's economy of scale was so effective and they could bring the cost down in that sector so significantly. And I fear for Samsung and Apple's on their behalf that these are going to encroach on them. The interesting thing though, and this is where we have to kind of like look at the sobering reality, is that the profit share, the profit in the market is going to Apple and Samsung. That disproportionate 2/3 to Apple and 1/3 to Samsung. But I want to ask you something else. I want to know what your week in San Francisco was like, because I mean the Twitter pictures looked more interesting than usual. I mean, at least they were in focus for a change.
It was a fascinating conference. This is I went to the Cisco conference. Now Cisco, for those of you who don't know, they kind of do the digital plumbing of the internet and make everything happen in the background. But I was fascinated by this company who's 25 years in existence, by the way, the same period that the internet started, and the company Cisco got its name from San Francisco, which is also an interesting one as well. But they're talking about this next evolution of the internet, and they're talking about connecting 50 billion devices. To connect 50 billion devices, you need to have a seamless integration between this and your door and your washing machine and your fridge and everything that's going to get connected to one of these devices in the future. And then of course there's the security threats as well that you have. But it's going to create incredible efficiencies. And when you look at the doctor's room and connecting your patients and everything to your doctor and having access to your patients that way and monitoring your heart rate and calling you when you're about to have a heart attack, that's very sexy. And now I think that for me is very exciting. And we're not talking about this being 10 or 15 years away. This is all going to happen in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've seen those revelations about some of the stuff being hacked already, some of these things, these dumb devices. But so it's a big problem. Like now you need this antivirus and Kaspersky's for your phone, your tablet, your car,
and that's not going to be good enough. That's not
your fridge is going to be spamming people.
Don't be horrible
Bad
about
enough
my
I
fridge.
get email from you, now I'm going to
But
get
listen,
from your fridge.
I want to ask you, and I love your talks that you talk about mobile and mobility in Africa. What's the one thing that stood out for you, aside from the conference that you went to, just mixing with people in Lagos, Nigeria? The one thing that struck me is how many portable devices each person carries.
Yeah, exactly.
What struck you the most about Lagos?
Well, interestingly, the kind of, you would expect to see more dual view devices. I mean, South Africa notoriously doesn't have dual SIM devices. Sorry, not dual view. Dual SIM, which is 2 SIMs, and the network-driven market in South Africa means that the operators get the say of what models get sold. So therefore, they're not going to support a dual SIM market at all. But however, the interesting thing, I mean, it's just had its GDP rebase, so now it's the largest in the country. There's the largest population in Africa there, and it's definitely the most interesting. And it's kind of primed to do great things. I often say, imagine what a powerhouse Nigeria would be if it had consistent electricity supply, or if you didn't get stuck on the third mainland bridge. So,
or if schoolgirls weren't kidnapped as well. I mean, it's there's those side things. But
no, that definitely
was BlackBerry still big, by the way?
Yeah, from a lot of what I saw, people are still doing it. And actually, WhatsApp has come up. I saw this guy. I've asked for a little section of him. I mean, I shot a little bit of footage. He looked like a young Idris Elba, the guy who played Mandela. He's like a young, good-looking. Doesn't have much of a screen test. Anyway, that's